Welcome to Casually Spiraling with me, Julie Bishop, just a girl in this world trying to make sense of literally everything, all the things. I've learned that my thoughts don't always land with the people around me, so I'm here to break it all down, talk it out, overshare, and hopefully, maybe, find some who don't think I'm totally crazy after all. Hello, hello, hello. We are back for round 3. Thank you so much for coming back. I truly appreciate it. And I've been having so much fun just rambling on and getting out literally everything that's in my head. Maybe some of you don't like this rambling style, but honestly, that's too damn bad because that's what's going on up in here. Thank you so much for coming back. I am feeling stuffy again. Episode 1. I recorded it and I was sick and I was like, oh, no, that does not sound good. I got over that cold, felt better for a week or two, and here we are again and I'm stuffed up. So I apologize. I am doing my best. I don't have that sexy, sexy smoldering voice that some people get when they're sick. I just sound clogged up and no one wants to listen to that on a podcast in their ears for 30 minutes. So I'm sorry. I'm doing my best. Please forgive me. But I'm very excited to be here today nonetheless and get into it. Today, I wanted to talk about something that I think many would agree, my friends would agree, family would agree, that is part of the Julie Bishop core or the lore, the Julie Bishop lore, whichever it is, or both maybe. And that is moving away out of state on your own, not knowing anyone. And for me, doing it with never been to the city or the place before, you don't have to do that. No one has to do that. But that just seems how I have done it a few times. And usually when I tell people that I've moved here and I've never been to the state or I've never been to this city, they look at me really weird and think I'm pretty crazy. And I have to be like, yeah, I promise I'm not crazy. I just kind of do it that way sometimes and have my mind set on certain things and just go for it. I did that twice now. And yeah, whenever I told people I was doing that and I wasn't visiting first, they were like, wow, okay. And yeah, I get it. It's kind of nuts and could potentially go very bad, but for me, it has worked out. So that's a win that I will take. Okay, so the 3 times that I've moved away, I've talked about this a little bit now. First was to Wilmington, North Carolina, and that was for college. That was at 18. I have been there before. I had been there a few times before. So I did do that, but I didn't know anyone. I didn't know anyone moving there, and this was the first time I was 9 hours away from home on my own and doing a lot of things for the first time on my own. And then the second time, right after I graduated from school in Wilmington, I moved to Atlanta. That one I had never been to before. I'd never been to the state of Georgia and I didn't know anyone. This was post-grad and I just knew when I was graduating that was the plan. So that's what I did. And then the last time would be to LA, which I did this January. Again, I'd never been to California and I'd never been to LA. I didn't know many people here. I did have a few people that I knew from college that I could call and ask for advice. But no one that I knew super close here or to live with and all of that. I just actually decided when I signed my last lease in Atlanta, I just had a feeling. I was like, I know this is my last lease here. I can't imagine in a year signing on to live in Atlanta for a whole other year. So I did take a little more time with this one, maybe not more than the others, because when Atlanta, I knew for 2 years or so, when I'm graduating, moving to Atlanta. So yeah, I did know for a year before moving here. I was like, yep, this is it. This feels right. This is my last Atlanta lease. I don't want to live here anymore and I'm ready. I'm ready to do it. So I took the year to save money and plan and ease minds of people who I was telling, my family, my parents, all of that. So that wasn't a full-on jumping right in. But I just knew when I was signing that last lease that was the last one in Atlanta for me. So the debate that I have about this topic in my head is a big part of me is telling people, and wanting to tell people, you need to move away from your hometown at least once in your life on your own, not for a boyfriend or anything, or a partnership or a relationship, on your own, not knowing anyone, a completely new place, and immerse yourself. Even if you end up moving back. That's what people I think forget. Like, you can always move back. That's what I had to tell myself and tell others when I moved here to LA. Like, I can always move back. That's a possibility. So even if you do end up moving back to your hometown, I just feel like it's so important, and you learn so much and you go through so much that shapes you as a human and a person that you might not get and experience staying in your hometown forever. But then the other part of me is some people are happy where they're at, and they have reasons that they don't move away. They have family that they don't want to leave. And not that I wanted to leave my family or anything. I don't want to leave my family. That's the worst part. But maybe they have like nieces and nephews that they want to see grow up, or certain circumstances. I'm just going to, for purposes, like obviously there's financial reasons people can't, or medical reasons. So I'm just like talking about taking all that outside of this, because I totally understand that there are certain privileges that I have had that have allowed me to move around that not everyone has. So there's certain circumstances, of course, but I'm just talking about in the general sense, disregarding all of that, of course. And some people, if they're happy, then why not? You know, I do have certain friends who still live in their hometown, and that makes them happy. So part of me is like, oh, I just want to shake them and be like, you don't know what you don't know. Until you do it, you don't know what you're missing out on. It's hard to explain to someone, but you don't know the experiences and the growth and the situations you find yourself in until you just dive in and do it. But then at the same time, if they're happy and they're thriving where they're at, then who am I to say like, oh, everyone has to do this? So part of me wants to be like, I think everyone should move away. And that's where I'm leaning. That is where I'm leaning with this debate, is that I think at least for a year or for something, by yourself on your own, move away and experience that. But I still, like, I understand it when people explain to me, but they're happy in their hometowns and with their families, and they've created a life for themselves there. So why would they mess that up? But I do think that when you move away, you see how other people were raised and how other people live that you may not be used to seeing just staying in your hometown. And I feel like it really opens you up to taking in about how other people carry themselves and how they live, and that can influence you on what you want to do for yourself and how you want to live, just not based off of the one way that you were raised to think and live. Because when you're a kid and growing up and you're raised a certain way, that's all you know. You don't know anything else out there until you experience it for yourself, and then you're like, wait, I can make decisions for myself on how I want to be, how I want to live, who I want to surround myself with. So for one, I think it's really important to immerse yourself in other cultures, other type of people, see how other people were raised and live, and then it has so many benefits. One, it can like make you really appreciate where you came from while also having gratitude for this new experience and what you're learning. It can make you a much more understanding person in communicating with others and seeing, okay, maybe we have different thoughts because we were raised differently. We were told differently from the jump. So let me try and understand their point of view, and maybe they can try and understand mine if we're both experiencing new things for the first time. And it's just so good to experience otherness from your norm and other cultures. But I do have friends who, like I said, are so happy where they're at. And it's actually funny because one year when I was in Atlanta, me and my friends, we did one of those PowerPoint nights where me and my single friends all made PowerPoints on what our types are, what we're looking for, what red flags we're looking at, what things are deal breakers. And we just did this fun PowerPoint night where we presented our PowerPoints to each other. And then we're like, everyone be on the lookout. So now we know what each of us are looking for in our types and all this. But it was really just a fun thing with some girlfriends. And so one of my pages was, I forget if it was like the deal breakers page or if it was like certain things I'm looking for. I forget how I framed it, but my one friend who has like stayed home and hasn't moved out, she's like reading my PowerPoint that I sent her for fun, and she's like, I am all your deal breakers in a relationship, or a lot of them. But it was just funny. We joked about it, but I do take this into consideration when I'm dating and when I meet new people. I'm always leaning towards, I really want to date someone who has moved away and who has experienced more life and different cultures and different people, and has that, because I know what kind of a person I became from doing that I would hope that my partner would do the same and have those same experiences and realizations, and isn't so closed off to just one type of person or one way of living. So that is something that I look for when I'm dating. And whenever my friends are going on a date or dating someone new, I always ask, where did they go to school, or where are they from? Just because I'm curious to see if they are from somewhere else and have moved, or at some point have moved and then come back. I'm always taking note of that when I'm dating and when I ask my friends about who they are dating. I have learned so much, and so much have come out of each of my experiences when I've moved out on my own, that I thought I'd share some of that today and go through it and see if I can explain how it has shaped me as a person, the person I am today. It was not all easy. It was not all fun and games. It was very scary at first, and lots of struggles each time. But the more and more I did it, the more I knew, I've done this before. I know I'm going to be okay. I know I'm going to figure it out. It got easier and easier each time, which is crazy because this last move was definitely my biggest, my furthest away, my most expensive, and it was the easiest one for me to do, the one I was the least nervous about and least anxious about, and I was so ready for, which is funny because, each time I moved previously, I was like crying and sad and it was bittersweet. This time I was like, no, I'm ready. Let's go. I'm ready. The only thing that I really miss about Atlanta is my friends there, and that is what will bring me back. So maybe it was just that as well. Not that I hated it or anything, but it just wasn't for me long term, and nothing stood out to me there. But yeah, everyone was like, what are you going to miss? Or how are you feeling? Are you scared? And I was like, no, let's go. I'm counting down the days, which is funny because it was my biggest move to date. But I just knew, like, I've done this before. I'm going to be okay. I'm going to figure it out, and I can do it. So why would I not try? Why would I not go after it? Why would I stay here when I know this isn't where I want to be for forever? And again, I knew if it wasn't working out, I could move back. I drove my car here, packed it up. I can repack it up and drive on back. But again, each time at the beginning, there are those little fears. There are those, you don't know anyone, you're in a new environment, and there's those baby steps of figuring it out. But by not knowing anyone or knowing my surroundings, it really forced me to figure out me and myself and how to put myself out there more. And I've spent a lot of time with myself and a lot of alone time that I probably wouldn't have had if I didn't put myself in these unfamiliar situations and circumstances. I used to be so shy and such an introvert, and I am still a little bit of an introvert now, but I'm definitely way more, I don't know, maybe I'm an introvert. What do they call it? An extroverted introvert? Maybe that. I don't know. I am not the same shy girl that I used to be. I am much more comfortable being myself around someone faster. It used to take me a very long time to warm up to people and actually be myself around them. But now that I've forced myself to have to be in these situations alone and put myself out there, it made me more comfortable. And two, I forced myself to have a lot of alone time with just me, myself, and I. And that made me realize and be way more confident in the fact of who I am. And I now know myself. It's so stupid to say. It sounds silly, but I now know myself so much more. I know the person that I am, and I like to hang out with me. So I know there's other people out there who will also appreciate and like me as well, because I ended up realizing what I bring to the table, and yeah, kind of fell in love with myself a little bit more and gained that confidence. So then it made me such more confident when I was putting myself out there in these unfamiliar situations by myself, because I had that experience of forcing myself to do it, and it got easier and easier each time. And now I came into this move knowing who I am and being really settled into that. So as I talked about last week, making friends at first was so hard, and each time, and just as I seem to make friends in a city, that's when I decide to move away from them. I just love doing that to myself, I guess. I don't know why, but for some reason I've done that to myself. And yes, I talked about this a lot in the last episode, how it's important to have friends where you actually live and who you can surround yourself with and feel at home with. So that was obviously, as I talked about episode 2, very hard at first, but I found my way, and I keep finding my way, and I know I'll keep finding my way because I forced myself to figure all this out on my own. So that each time I do it, the more and more confident I get, and the more confident I get in saying yes to things. So the first time that I did this, when I moved to Wilmington, I was like, dang, I am far from home. I can't just get home quickly if I need to. It's not a quick drive. It's a 9-hour drive. It's a whole trek. So I was calling my mom a lot my first year in Wilmington. So much to the fact that the next year, when I wasn't so much, she was more concerned that I wasn't calling her than when I was calling her, because she's like, wait, why is she not calling me every day now? Like, is she hiding things from me? And I was like, no, Mom, I'm actually happy now, and I actually know how to live on my own now. I figured it out. Not that I don't call her, but I was calling her like every single day my first year. And then the second year, she was like, what's wrong? What happened? And I was like, I'm good. That's what happened. I figured myself out, and I figured out how to create a life for myself and do it on my own and be with me and put myself out there. So yeah, that was funny. And then again, when I moved to Atlanta, I packed up my car and drove on, and I was leaving a relationship that I was in. I didn't leave the relationship, but now we were going to be long distance. So it was a little different for me my first year and a half in Atlanta, because like around every other month I was going back to Wilmington. So then once that relationship ended, there was even a whole new resurgence of, okay, I don't have this tie anymore to Wilmington. I'm really out here on my own in Atlanta, and I'm committing to this and committing to this own life that I'm creating for myself. So I kind of had a new second Atlanta resurgence on, okay, I really need to figure myself out here and what I want to do here and where I want to be and who I want to surround myself with. And especially each time when I moved to Wilmington, North Carolina, I don't know if I've said the state, but it's in North Carolina, and then to Georgia. Each of these moves also made me much more passionate about my beliefs and my values. I moved from, the east north to now more southern states. And, values and how people grow up in the South is much different. It's much more conservative. And then Atlanta was a mix, because it's Atlanta, so it's a city, but you're also still in Georgia. So immersing myself in these different, let's say, different areas where the majority of the people there have different beliefs, it made me much more passionate about my own beliefs and my values. And it made me learn how to stand up for myself and advocate for myself on what I believe and what my values are. It made me able to learn how to communicate with people who have different beliefs a little bit and have to really navigate that. Now that I was immersing myself in areas where there was a lot more of that, it was also an interesting time each time that I moved. My first year in Wilmington was 2016, so that was that election we all know. And then my last year in Wilmington was COVID. So the political world and landscape had changed so much, and what people were talking about has changed so much and had become much more open during those times than people were before, and a lot of people became more split. So it was definitely an interesting time to be in that situation. And then again in Atlanta, immersing myself in Georgia, where people grew up very differently. So yes, for one, I learned and tried to communicate with others when we have differences and hear each other out and try to have healthy conversations when you can and to your best ability, depending on the situation. And then two, it made me really think about, what do I believe in? What are my thoughts? What are my values and morals? And being strong on that and making sure I stand on that. And it made me just become very specific about that and want to learn more and involve myself more than if I just stayed at home in the same neighborhood that I grew up in with the same kind of people who all have grown up with the same beliefs and values. This also made me specific on who I surround myself with in other aspects as well. Since I had learned that, wait, I actually do like hanging out with myself and I am my own person, and I created these independent lives for myself where I have so much that I am pursuing and that I want for my life and in my career and that I'm going after. And maybe this also has just come with age, but it made me more specific on who I surround myself with in other ways as well. I try very much to carry myself as much as I can as like a half glass full type of person and bring positivity into my day as much as I can, of course. And I found myself with a few people in my life that were very negative and bringing very negative energies. And I still am a little bit, but I'm a recovering people pleaser. I was very much a people pleaser. So I would say yes to certain things and put myself in situations and with certain people that I didn't want to be in. I had people in my life where anytime their name was on my phone, I was stressed because I didn't want to say no to things to hurt other people. So then I would say yes, but then I was in situations and surrounding myself with people who were just bringing me down and was just a huge weight on my shoulders. So realizing that, wait, I know the qualities about me since I've spent so much time alone and I've had to figure it out for myself, that I don't want to do this to myself. It's okay. Not everyone is meant to be friends with everyone, or not everyone is everyone's people. So if I'm trying to keep a positive attitude as much as I can about my life, and there are certain people who don't live maybe like that or just brought a lot of negative energy into me or into my life, and I realized they just stress me out, I had to learn to politely communicate and stand up for myself on who I want to be around and not just be a people pleaser and do everything for everyone else. So there were a few people who I always do this as kindly as I can, but just communicate like, hey, we share different values and different morals, and our lives are very different, and I just don't think that we are meant for each other or to be in each other's lives in this capacity. And as soon as I got the courage to stand on that and know what I want around me, because I've experienced quite a variety of people around me, so that I now know what kind of people I do want and I do gel with, that a weight was just lifted off my shoulders. And I was like, I don't have to stress about this anymore. I don't have to worry about their name popping up on my phone and me freaking out. It was such a relief to take that power and control back for myself and that independence on, wait, I get to choose who I surround myself with. And then on the other end of it, as I've kind of touched on, me immersing myself in other people who have lived differently than me their whole lives and different backgrounds and all of that, and getting to hear straight from those people's experiences. One, it made my eyes open way more to all the people around me and all the experiences they might be having and going through. And then it made me, so one, a more open person, and two, in some aspects, of course, there are things you got to stand your ground on. And then other situations, there are times where you can try and understand each other and realize we are all humans trying to figure this shit out. And sometimes just a little more honest communication would be beneficial for everyone. But I don't know, who the fuck knows? The world is pretty fucked up right now. So who knows? Maybe some more honest communication, understanding would help some. but I don't know, things have gone really sideways. So maybe that wouldn't help at all. But I think just immersing yourself amongst other people can really open you up and open your eyes as you move forward on, okay, everyone has different experiences. All these people did not grow up the same as I did. And then, of course, there's also just this innate independence that comes when you're moving away and you're on your own. You are forced to be in situations by yourself, figure shit out by yourself, and develop maybe this toughness that comes more naturally when you're alone and forcing yourself to be alone in new areas that you might not develop if you don't force yourself into those situations. You learn that you have to have your own back, and you learn you have to be aware of your surroundings. Putting myself in these scary situations, I've always come out of the other side so much happier, stronger, a better person, and a more well-rounded human. And that has made me really proud. I always think about when I look back on the first years that I had when I lived in a new place to the last, and I was like, damn, like, she is so different. She grew and learned so much from those experiences, and she got through it. And it always makes me really proud. There's always a glow up every single time. So that's when I moved to LA, I was like, no matter what, I'm going to have a glow up, because I know even if like I don't end up staying here long, I know I'm going to learn something and I know I'm going to get through it. So either way, I'm going to come out the other side a better person. I feel like it just always makes you a better person in some aspect or another. Are just kind of the little things when you're alone on how you carry yourself, and you have to do certain things on your own. So for example, my friend who had never moved away, she has never had to have the Uber app on her phone. She's never gotten into an Uber by herself. She's never had to call one because she's never been out on her own before like that. She's like, I don't know how to do this. I don't have when she came to visit me in Atlanta, and I was at work when she was landing, so she had to Uber my place, and she was like, I don't know how to do this. So there's these small things where like it's just so normal for you to do so much on your own, whether that's going into a city by yourself, driving somewhere by yourself, traveling by yourself, taking an Uber by yourself, going to a class by yourself, going to the beach by yourself, whatever small or big thing it is, it's now so much more common for you to do by yourself. And other people are just like, what are you talking about? Why would you go do that by yourself? But this also comes with part of me. I'm like, some of my friends are very like being a woman are very afraid of certain things that I'm just like, I don't even think of. For one, I never even thought about the fact that some girls just feel better not sleeping on the first floor of a house. They like being on a second floor of either a house or an apartment just in case someone breaks in or something like that. And I'm like, what? Like, I'm not going to live somewhere just because the bedroom that I'm at is on the first floor. Or I don't know. I'm just always been on my own. So I'm smart. What's the extent of being smart versus naive, I guess is what I'm trying to say. I always am deadbolting my door. I'm always locking my windows. I'm always, when I'm walking around at night on the street, being aware of my surroundings. But at the same time, certain people would hold themselves back and not do certain things because they're scared of those situations. I'm not going to be out in the city and go on a night out in the city because I have to walk to my car by myself or this or that. And it is such like this is another debate on its own, I suppose, because I've been so by myself for so long that I have to walk to the car by myself, but I'm not going to be dumb about it. I'm going to park where I know I should park, and I'm going to be looking around my shoulder and be prepared with pepper spray or whatever it may be. I just feel like there's a lot of situations and times where people who aren't used to being on their own or doing things independently, that they may hold themselves back from experiencing so many wonderful things that you're supposed to experience in life and in your 20s and experiencing the world. But because they're used to always being around their comforts and their other people or not doing things on their own, that they miss out on these experiences and lifestyle and throwing themselves into things by themselves and independently. So I don't know, guys, what do you think? Do you think everyone should at least do this once, move out of state, away from their hometown on their own, not for in a relationship or anything like that, on their own, out of their hometown at least once? Or is it okay if certain people stay in their hometown forever and just experience that if they're happy and that's what works for them? I don't know. I kind of go back on and off and back and forth, but as you can kind of tell by this episode, I'm leaning towards you should experience otherness, and maybe that's because that's my experience and I just know so much. It's hard to explain kind of, but you don't know how you change inside and who you are until you just do it. You don't know what you're missing out on. You don't know what you don't know kind of situation. I really want to be strong in the fact that I think everyone should do this at some point, but I also have seen people in my life and others where they're totally fine staying in the same state and area and around the people that they want to be around. Family and support and having that support system is so important. So I also get it. And if it works for one person, then and they're happy, then that's great. And that's great. And if maybe they travel a lot, even though they're still living in their hometown, or someone's independently pursuing their own passions, even if it's from their hometown, you learn a lot in that as well. Because I will say, whenever I go home, I am the only one now not at home. My sisters did move away, but then they ended up moving back, which again is okay. But so it was all okay when we were all spread out and not at home. But now, rudely, I am the only one not at home. So when I do go home and I'm like, oh my gosh, I have access to my family and my sisters all the time, just like this. And I can be involved in everything that they all do together normally without me. So that is probably the only aspect that I miss about living at home is them and having that access and getting to see them more often and not be the only one left out and have FOMO for my family events. But right now I am my mother's favorite because I'm the furthest away, and that's what determines who is her favorite child at the moment. So I've definitely held that title for a little bit now, but but there are different circumstances for everyone. So although I've called out my one friend a little bit and she knows who she is, or I've had a few friends though who have stayed where they're at, so it's not just her, but I've called her out a little bit with the Uber situation and this and that. I do have to make fun of her every once in a while, but I also get it because everyone has different circumstances and it's whatever makes them happy. But I also like to share my experiences and how I've grown and formed as a whole new person from that. So I love connecting with others when they've had that as well. That is like my main connection point I try to find with people. And it makes me so happy to meet others who just move away and have grown so much from that experience. So do with that what you may, but that is all I got for you today. We are now 3 weeks in, which is so exciting. And thank you all so much for listening. Hopefully one of you, maybe this resonated with, maybe this inspired someone to move away, or maybe you are someone who has moved away and you're like, yes, girl, like, oh, I changed so much and grew so much from that experience. But thank you for hopefully sticking around to the end of this podcast. And I love you. Goodbye.